Have you ever caught yourself replaying a conversation in your mind, wondering how you agreed to something you never wanted in the first place? Or found yourself lost in a haze, questioning whether your thoughts were truly your own? This unsettling experience might be more than just overthinking. It could be the subtle hand of manipulation at play, a force so insidious that you barely notice it tightening its grip. In a world as connected as ours, every interaction is a potential crossroads, where intentions clash, and influence is often the currency exchanged. Sometimes these interactions uplift us, guiding us toward growth. But what happens when the intentions behind them are not so pure, when they seek to bend your will to fit someone else's agenda? That's what we're here to explore today. The hidden world of manipulation, where power plays and psychological tactics are used to control you without your consent. This isn't just another discussion. It's a deep dive into the most subtle and powerful forms of manipulation that exist in our lives today. We'll uncover the strategies that can make you question your reality, like the twisted reflections in a funhouse mirror, and the tactics that prey on your deepest emotions, leaving you vulnerable and uncertain. And most importantly, we'll equip you with the tools to break free, to reclaim your autonomy in a world that often conspires to take it away. In a time where manipulation is not just an individual act, but a structural force embedded in media and social networks, understanding these tactics isn't just self-defense. It's a path to true personal freedom. So stay with us throughout this video. Each moment will bring you closer to mastering the art of recognizing and neutralizing manipulation. If what we discuss here resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Together, we can forge a community of awareness and strength, where your experiences can guide others on this same journey. Are you ready to take control? Let's get started. Number 1. Emotional manipulation. Aristotle once said, "Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom." Yet in a world filled with hidden agendas and silent influences, how often do we find ourselves drifting away from that wisdom? Emotional manipulation is like an unseen force steering your ship off course, slowly, almost imperceptibly, until you're lost in a sea of doubt and confusion. It's not a loud, crashing wave, but rather the gentle push of a current, nudging you where you never intended to go. Imagine you're walking through a dense forest, each tree representing a different emotion: happiness, fear, guilt, love. These trees sway with the wind, and as you pass by, someone begins to shake them, sending leaves of doubt and uncertainty cascading down upon you. Emotional manipulation works much the same way. It begins subtly, often cloaked in concern, affection, or that loaded silence that speaks louder than words ever could. The manipulator, much like a skilled illusionist, knows precisely how to divert your focus, making you question the very ground you stand on. Consider a scenario where someone you trust asks for a favor that feels wrong to you. You hesitate, knowing it goes against your values or priority. Instead of understanding, they give you that disappointed look, that sigh heavy with unspoken judgment. "I thought you cared," they might say, leaving you with a nagging sense of guilt, as if putting yourself first is somehow a betrayal. Or picture this. Someone warns you that if you don't heed their advice, something ominous might happen. The threat is never explicit, but it hangs in the air like a storm cloud, darkening your thoughts, making you dependent on their supposed guidance. So how do you reclaim your power in the face of such manipulation? The first step is to cultivate deep self-awareness, much like a Stoic philosopher would advise. Know your emotions intimately. Understand what stirs your happiness, what triggers your anger, what soothes your fears. When you become the master gardener of your emotional landscape, you can easily recognize when someone is tampering with your garden, trying to sow seeds of doubt or fear. The next step is to build flexible but firm boundaries. Think of these not as fortress walls, but as gates that you control. Gates that you can open to allow in what nourishes you and close to keep out what doesn't. Learn the power of saying no without carrying the burden of guilt. Accept that it's not your responsibility to please everyone, nor is it possible. Relationships, too, require balance. A healthy relationship should feel like a dance, where both partners move in harmony, each respecting the rhythm of the other. But if you constantly find yourself dancing to someone else's tune, out of sync with your own needs and desires, it's time to reassess that relationship. As Epictetus wisely put it, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Your reaction, your choices, these are within your control. Lastly, don't underestimate the transformative power of honest communication. Addressing emotional manipulation head-on is never easy, but sometimes a straightforward "I feel uncomfortable" or "this doesn't sit right with me" can shift the dynamic entirely. It's about reclaiming your voice and asserting your right to feel and act according to your own truths. In this intricate game of life where manipulation is the opponent, remember, you are the strategist. Emotional manipulation is a dark art, but with awareness, boundaries, balance, and clear communication, you can navigate through it unscathed. The chessboard may be your mind, but you are always the king or queen, ruling your own destiny. Let no one else play that game for you. Number 2. Beware of logical fallacy. Is it not true that the mind is its own place, capable of making a heaven of hell or a hell of heaven? John Milton wrote these words in Paradise Lost, and they ring especially true when we think about the power of logical fallacy. Fallacies are not just innocent errors in reasoning, they are deliberate distortions used to cloud your judgment and sway your decisions. Like fog creeping in over a calm sea, they obscure your vision, making it difficult to navigate toward the truth. Logical fallacies are, at their core, arguments built on unstable ground. They might seem solid from afar, but as you approach, cracks become evident, and what seemed like a stone foundation reveals itself to be nothing more than shifting sand. In a world where words are often wielded like weapons, understanding these tricks of rhetoric is essential. Take the strawman fallacy, for example, where someone deliberately misrepresents your argument to make it easier to attack. It's like setting up a scarecrow in an open field and declaring victory when the straw figure falls over. This tactic distracts from the real issue, misleading both the attacker and the audience into believing that a significant point has been won. Another deceptive tactic is the false cause fallacy, where correlation is mistaken for causation. It's like seeing that the sun rises every time the rooster crows and concluding that the rooster's crow causes the sunrise. Such thinking plays on our need to find patterns, even when none exist, leading us into the traps of false assumptions and misguided conclusions. But how do we defend ourselves against these subtle yet powerful manipulations? The Stoics believed that clarity of mind is achieved through rigorous self-discipline and the constant questioning of our perceptions. To be on guard against fallacies, you must adopt a mindset, constant inquiry. When faced with an argument, ask yourself, what is the true nature of this claim? Is it supported by solid evidence, or is it merely a house of cards built on shaky premises? To practice this effectively, start by familiarizing yourself with the most common logical fallacies. Think of it as learning to spot counterfeit money. Once you know what to look for, fakes stand out immediately. Armed with this knowledge, you can then train yourself to listen actively. Instead of passively absorbing information, dissect it. Does the argument follow logically from its premises? Are there leaps in reasoning or attempts to appeal to emotion rather than fact? Moreover, be mindful of your responses. Don't rush to engage with every provocation. Sometimes the best strategy is to step back and assess the argument from a distance, much like a general surveys the battlefield before engaging in combat. When you respond, do so with clarity and precision, focusing on the core issue rather than being sidetracked by peripheral argument. Remember that every conversation is an opportunity to practice wisdom. By maintaining your focus on truth and logic, you set a standard that others will have to rise to meet. As Epictetus said, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Keep this humility at the forefront of your mind and use it to sharpen your skills in discerning fallacy from fact. Navigating through the world of arguments requires not just knowledge, but also vigilance and practice. Be like a lighthouse in a storm, steady, clear, and unwavering in your commitment to the truth. This is how you avoid being swayed by the fog of fallacies and remain true to the course of reason and wisdom. Number 3. Gaslighting detection. Do you ever feel like you're losing your grip on reality, as if the ground beneath your feet is shifting ever so slightly? Shakespeare warned us, the devil can cite scripture for his purpose. Gaslighting is the devil's art in the realm of manipulation, a subtle and insidious tactic designed to make you question your very sanity, your perceptions, and even your memories. It's as if someone is rearranging the furniture in your mind. And when you notice something is off, they tell you, it's always been that way. This form of psychological manipulation isn't just an attack on your thoughts, it's an assault on your sense of self. Gaslighters excel at denying the truth, even when it's staring you both in the face. They'll twist the facts, distort your memories, and belittle your emotions until you're left wondering if you ever really understood what was happening. It's like being trapped in a hall of mirrors, where every reflection is slightly distorted, making you question whether your mind is playing tricks on you. The Stoics believed that the most powerful weapon in your arsenal is your ability to perceive and interpret reality clearly. Marcus Aurelius advised, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." To combat gaslighting, you must first trust your intuition. If something feels wrong, it likely is. But intuition alone is not enough. It must be paired with evidence. Keep a journal. Record events, conversations, and your feelings in real time. These notes are not just memories, they are anchors in the storm, a way to ground yourself in reality when everything else feels like quicksand. Next, seek validation from those outside the manipulative dynamic. Friends and family who aren't entangled in the web of gaslighting can provide a clearer perspective, much like a lighthouse guiding a ship safely to shore. Their outside view can help you see through the fog of doubt that the gaslighter has created. Setting boundaries is also crucial. When someone tries to gaslight you, assert your truth firmly but calmly. "I don't remember it that way," or "That's not how I experienced it," are simple but powerful statements that reclaim your narrative. It's akin to drawing a line in the sand, making it clear that while they may try to alter your perception, your reality remains your own. And lastly, invest in self-care and self-reflection. The Stoics were great advocates of daily reflection, examining the day's events and your reactions to them. Use this time to affirm your own perceptions and strengthen your sense of self. This isn't just about resisting manipulation. It's about fortifying your inner fortress. Remember, your mind is your domain, and no one else has the right to control how you interpret your reality. Gaslighting is a dark and manipulative game, but it only works if you allow someone else to dictate your reality. Trust in yourself, validate your experiences, and protect your sense of truth with vigilance. As Epictetus reminds us, we suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them. Keep your judgment clear, your boundaries firm, and your reality your own. Number 4. Awareness of group pressure. Have you ever felt the weight of others' expectations pressing down on you, nudging you to conform, even when it goes against your better judgment? Nietzsche once said, "Individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe." Group pressure is a powerful force that can quietly erode your sense of self, pushing you to adopt beliefs and behaviors that are not truly your own. It's like being on a ship in stormy seas, where the waves of popular opinion threaten to steer you off course. Stoicism teaches us the importance of staying true to our own principles, even when the world around us pulls in a different direction. Group pressure often preys on our natural desire to belong, to be accepted by those around us. It can manifest in small ways, like the subtle urge to dress or speak a certain way to fit in, or in more profound ways, where you find yourself agreeing with ideas or actions that conflict with your core values, simply to avoid standing out. It's like being in a field of tall grass, bending with the wind to avoid being the lone stalk. Stand straight, visible, and vulnerable. To resist this pressure, first step is to cultivate a strong sense of self-awareness, and self-worth. Know who you are and what you stand for. Much like a ship needs a strong anchor to hold steady in rough waters. When you're clear about your values, it becomes easier to resist the pull of the crowd and stay on your chosen course. As Epictetus wisely counseled, no man is free who is not master of himself. Recognize when group pressure is at play. Sometimes it's blatant, direct encouragement to conform. Other times it's subtle, like when everyone in a meeting agrees on a point that you instinctively disagree with. And you feel that pang of doubt, wondering if you should just go along with the consensus. It's important to pause in these moments, check in with yourself and ask, is this truly what I believe, or am I being influenced by the group? This simple act of reflection can be enough to keep you grounded. Another essential practice is the art of saying no. A word that can be difficult to utter in the face of group pressure. One that is crucial for maintaining your integrity. You don't have to be confrontational. Simple, firm no, or I see it differently can set clear boundaries that protect your values. Think of it as being like a tree with deep roots. No matter how strong the wind blows, those roots keep you anchored to your true self. Also, seek out a circle of people who respect and value individuality. Surrounding yourself with those who appreciate diverse perspectives and encourage independent thinking is like finding a harbor in a storm, a place where you can be yourself without fear of judgment or pressure to conform. Finally, remember that the path to a fulfilling life is not always the one most traveled. Making decisions based on your own values may sometimes lead you down roads others avoid, but these are the roads that lead to true authenticity and peace of mind. As Robert Frost famously wrote in The Road Not Taken, taking the path less traveled has made all the difference. In the end, awareness of group pressure and the strength to resist it are not just about maintaining your personal integrity. They're about living a life that is genuinely your own, guided by your principles, rather than the fleeting approval of others. Stay true to your course, and let the winds of group pressure blow past you without altering your direction. Number 5. Identification of excessive flattery. Have you ever been showered with praise that feels a little too much, almost like a flood that threatens to sweep you away? As Lao Tzu once said, "He who knows others is wise. He who knows himself is enlightened." Excessive flattery is a deceptive tool, a carefully laid trap designed to inflate your ego and make you lose sight of your true self. It's like a beautifully wrapped gift with nothing inside, designed to make you feel special, while masking the emptiness beneath. In the teachings of Stoicism, we find the wisdom to resist such manipulation. A Stoic knows that genuine self-worth comes not from the words of others, but from a clear understanding of one's own virtues and values. When you are grounded in this knowledge, the allure of flattery loses its power. Excessive praise can act like a siren's song, pulling you off course, making you crave more validation, more approval, until you find yourself drifting far from your true path. To safeguard against this, begin by cultivating a robust sense of self-awareness. Recognize your strengths, but also be intimately aware of your weaknesses. This isn't about self-criticism, but about clarity. When you know who you are, no amount of flattery can distort your self-perception. It's like having a finely tuned instrument that detects the difference between genuine notes and false ones. With this, you can appreciate sincere praise while filtering out the noise of manipulation. Observe the patterns and context in which compliments are given. If you notice that certain people always seem to flatter you when they want something in return, take note. Flattery with an agenda is like a shadow that only appears when the sun shines. Presence depends on external conditions, not on any inherent light. Another important practice is maintaining a healthy distance. This doesn't mean being cynical or dismissive of all compliments, but rather being discerning. When praise feels too heavy, too frequent, or too general, acknowledge it politely, but don't let it affect your sense of self-worth. Think of it as enjoying a piece of candy without making it your main meal. It's sweet, but it doesn't sustain you. Additionally, seek feedback from those you trust, people who have no reason to manipulate you. They are your reality check, much like a compass that always points true north, helping you navigate when the waters of praise become too muddied. They can help you see whether the compliments you receive are based on real merit, or if they're being used to bend your will. Lastly, differentiate between authentic praise and flattery. Real compliments are like well-crafted tools, specific to their purpose and useful in their application. They are precise, grounded in truth, and often challenge you to be better. In contrast, flattery is vague, excessive, and often leaves you feeling uneasy once the initial glow fades. Remember, in a world filled with empty praise and hidden agendas, the most valuable validation comes from within. Guard your sense of self with the vigilance of a sentry. Keep your mind sharp, your heart humble, and your purpose clear. As Seneca put it, "He who is brave is free." Be brave in recognizing the truth of who you are, beyond the praise and beyond the flattery. Number 6. Recognition of isolation tactic. Have you ever felt the creeping isolation when someone tries to pull you away from your friends, family, or even colleagues? As the philosopher Aristotle noted, "He who is isolated is not a whole man." Manipulators know this truth all too well and use isolation as a weapon to weaken and control. It's one of the most insidious tactics in the manipulator's arsenal, separating you from your support networks to make you dependent solely on them. Imagine being in a dark, enclosed room, with only the manipulator holding the key to the door. The walls close in slowly, cutting you off from the voices and faces that once gave you strength. In Stoicism, the principle of sympathia reminds us that we are all interconnected, that our strength often lies in our community and relationships. When someone tries to isolate you, they are not just taking away your social connections. They are attempting to sever your lifeline to reality, your sense of self, and your ability to see beyond the walls they are building around you. It's like being cast away on a deserted island, where the only voice you hear is the one that left you there in the first place. To counteract isolation tactic, the first step is vigilance. Notice the subtle shifts in your relationships when someone starts questioning your connections, sowing seeds of doubt about the loyalty or intentions of those you trust. It's as if they are planting weeds in your garden, hoping they'll choke out the healthy plants that sustain you. Ask yourself, are these doubts rooted in reality, or are they being planted by someone else's agenda? Next, keep your support networks robust and active. Regularly reach out to friends, family, and colleagues. Maintain these lifelines as you would maintain a fire in a storm. A manipulator's goal is to extinguish these flames of connection, leaving you cold and reliant on their warmth alone. By keeping your relationships active, you create a web of reality checks and diverse perspectives that prevent any one person from becoming your single source truth. Establish firm boundaries as well. Be clear about who you let into your inner circle and who has the power to influence your time and energy. This is not about erecting walls, but about creating gates that you control, allowing in what is healthy and nourishing, and keeping out what seeks to confine and control. Think of yourself as a gardener tending to a sacred space. You decide what grows within your garden and what is weeded out. Furthermore, trust your instincts. If you feel something is off, that sense of unease is often your mind's way of sounding an alarm. Much like an animal senses danger before it is visible, your intuition can guide you toward recognizing when someone's actions are more about control than care. Trust that feeling and investigate it. Your instincts are often your first line of defense against manipulation. Finally, seek support from outside this isolated bubble. Whether it's a trusted friend, a mentor, or a therapist, these external voices can offer the perspective you need to break free from the isolating tactics being used against you. They act like a mirror, reflecting back to you the reality that the manipulator is trying to distort. Remember, the ultimate goal of isolation is to weaken your sense of self and control your actions by cutting you off from your sources of strength. By maintaining strong connections, setting clear boundaries, trusting your instincts, and seeking outside perspectives, you reclaim your autonomy. You are not a solitary island, but part of a larger, vibrant community that supports and uplifts you. Guard this community as fiercely as you guard your own mind, and you will remain strong against any attempt to isolate and control you. Number 7. Alert to ultimatums. Have you ever been forced into making a choice that felt like walking a tightrope over a deep chasm? Ultimatums are exactly that, a way to pressure you into making decisions without giving you the room to breathe or think. As Epictetus famously said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Ultimatums challenge this freedom by cornering you, creating a false sense of urgency that leaves you feeling as if there is only one narrow path. In Stoicism, we learn that true freedom comes from within, from the ability to make choices based on reason, not fear. When someone uses ultimatums, they are trying to hijack this freedom, presenting you with a do this or else scenario that is designed to manipulate your emotions and limit your options. It's like being at a crossroads where every direction seems treacherous. But the reality is that there's always another path. You just need to look up and see it. To counteract the pressure of an ultimatum, start by pausing. When faced with a choice that feels forced or immediate, resist the impulse to react right away. Take a deep breath and remind yourself that you are in control. This moment of pause is crucial. It's like hitting the pause button in a high-stakes game, giving you the time to reassess and strategize. Often, you have more time than you think to make a decision. Time to consider all your options, not just the ones laid out by someone else. Next, scrutinize the ultimatum itself. Ask yourself, is this really the only way forward, or is someone trying to push me into a corner for their own benefit? Ultimatums often appear reasonable on the surface, but upon closer inspection, they reveal a lack of respect for your autonomy and your ability to choose freely. It's like a well-disguised trap, a net hidden beneath the leaves, meant to ensnare you the moment you step on it. When evaluating your choices, look beyond the immediate pressure and consider the long-term consequence. Ultimatums are often framed to make one option appear disastrous, but with a calm and measured approach, you may discover that the situation is not as dire as it seems. It's like consulting a map before choosing your route. The more you see of the landscape, better your decision will be. Clear communication is also key. If someone is pressuring you with an ultimatum, calmly express how it makes you feel and set clear boundaries about what you are and are not willing to accept. This is akin to planting your flag firmly in the ground, making it clear that your choices are yours to make, not theirs to dictate. You might say, I understand your perspective, but I need time to think this through on my own terms. This reinforces your autonomy and shows that you cannot be easily swayed. Lastly, consider the nature of the relationship itself. If ultimatums are a recurring theme, it may be time to reevaluate whether this relationship is serving you or controlling you. A healthy relationship is built on mutual respect and freedom, not on threats and coercion. Like a tree that cannot grow in the shadow of another, your growth requires space, light, and the freedom to stretch out in all directions. Remember, the use of ultimatums is a tactic to manipulate and control. But by pausing, scrutinizing, communicating clearly, and standing firm in your own power, you reclaim your freedom. As Seneca wrote, as is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters. Make sure your life is guided by choices that reflect your true self, not the dictates of someone else's pressure. Number 8. Recognizing blame. Have you ever felt the weight of guilt pressing down on you, as if you're being held accountable for something that doesn't truly belong to you? As Seneca once wrote, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Blame is a cunning form of manipulation that takes root in this gap between reality and the stories we tell ourselves. It's like a slow-acting poison, creeping into your mind, making you question your actions, your thoughts, and ultimately, your worth. In the practice of Stoicism, we are taught to take ownership of our actions and our responses to the world around us. But what happens when someone tries to twist this principle, to manipulate your sense of responsibility into a weapon against you? Blame is often the tool of choice for those who seek to control you by shifting their own burdens onto your shoulders. It's as if they hand you a broken mirror, reflecting only flaws, distorting reality, until you can no longer see yourself clearly. To defend against this tactic, you must first learn to recognize when blame is being used to manipulate. Pay attention to phrases like, "You made me feel this way," or "If you hadn't done that, I wouldn't have reacted like this." These statements are not about accountability. They are about control. They are attempts to rewrite the narrative, placing the blame on you for things outside your control. It's crucial in these moments to pause and ask yourself, is this truly my responsibility? By engaging in this self-reflection, you become the author of your own story, rather than letting someone else dictate your role in it. Once you've recognized the blame, the next step is to assert your reality. Just as a Stoic guards their inner peace, you must guard your own sense of truth. Don't allow others to make you feel guilty for their actions or emotion. You might say, "I understand you're upset, but I cannot take responsibility for your feelings." This is like holding up a shield, deflecting the arrows of guilt that are meant to pierce your confidence and autonomy. It's also important to communicate clearly and set firm boundaries. Let those who try to blame you know that while you are open to discussion, you will not accept undue responsibility. Imagine placing a "Do not enter" sign at the gate of your mind, signaling that blame will not be allowed to take root within you. Surrounding yourself with supportive people is another essential strategy. Just as healthy plants need fertile soil, your well-being thrives in an environment of respect and mutual support. Seek out relationships that nourish you, not ones that try to stifle your growth by casting shadows of unjust blame. In summary, recognizing and confronting blame is about reclaiming your power and protecting your mental and emotional health. It's about keeping your mind clear, your boundaries strong, and your environment healthy, so that you can navigate through life without being burdened by the false narratives of others. Remember, you are responsible for your actions, not for the distorted reflections someone else tries to impose upon you. In the words of Epictetus, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Choose to react with clarity, strength, and an unshakable sense of your own truth. Number 9. Awareness of information overload. Have you ever felt like your mind is being pulled in 1,000 different directions at once, drowning in a deluge of data, unable to think clearly? Seneca once said, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." This wisdom rings true in our age of information overload, where the sheer volume of facts, figures, and opinions can overwhelm even the sharpest minds, leaving us disoriented and vulnerable to manipulation. Information overload is not just a modern inconvenience. It is a tactic used to cloud our judgment and make us easier to control. In Stoicism, we are taught to cultivate clarity of thought and simplicity in action. When faced with an overwhelming barrage of information, the first step is to pause. Just as a Stoic would step back from the chaos of the world to find inner peace, you must take a moment to breathe. Create space between yourself and the flood of information. Imagine being in the eye of a hurricane, calm, centered, while the storm rages around you. This pause allows you to regain your footing and approach the situation with a clear mind. Next, practice the art of simplification. The Stoics believed in cutting through the noise to focus on what truly matters. Break down the overwhelming data into smaller, more digestible pieces. This is akin to taking apart a complex machine, examining each part one by one until the whole becomes comprehensible. By simplifying, you transform the chaos into something manageable, allowing you to make informed decisions with confidence. Another crucial strategy is to ask questions. When information seems convoluted or confusing, don't hesitate to seek clarification. It's like turning on a light in a dark room, illuminating the hidden corners so that you can see clearly. By asking the right questions, you cut through the fog of confusion, ensuring that you are not led astray by half-truths or intentional obfuscation. Furthermore, seek the perspective of a trusted third party. Sometimes we are too close to the problem to see it clearly. Consulting with someone who has no stake in the outcome can provide the objectivity needed to navigate through the clutter. It's like looking at a map from a higher vantage point, where the path ahead comes clearer. Trust your instincts as well. If something feels overwhelming or off, listen to that inner voice. Marcus Aurelius reminded us to always be aware of what you are thinking. This self-awareness acts as an internal compass, guiding you away from the traps laid by manipulators who use information overload to control your decision. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with information, maintaining mental clarity is not just a necessity, it is a form of self-defense. By pausing, simplifying, asking questions, and seeking out trusted perspectives, you protect your autonomy and keep your mind free from the influence of those who would seek to overwhelm it. Remember, the most powerful fortress you can build is within your own mind. Guard it well and let no storm of information breach its wall. Number 10. Identifying topic shifting. Have you ever been in a conversation where just as you're about to address the heart of an issue, The topic suddenly shifts, leaving you disoriented and frustrated. This tactic, known as topic shifting, is like a magician's sleight of hand, meant to distract, confuse, and ultimately avoid the truth. As Socrates famously said, "Unexamined life is not worth living." Yet those who use topic shifting fear examination, preferring instead to dance around the truth rather than confront it. In the Stoic tradition, we are taught the value of directness and honesty, facing reality head-on without evasion. Topic shifting is a subtle but powerful form of manipulation, designed to lead you away from uncomfortable truths, like a hiker being led off the main trail into a maze of dead ends. Recognizing this tactic is the first step in maintaining control of the conversation and ensuring that the important issues are not lost in a fog of distraction. When you notice a conversation suddenly veering off course, take a moment to pause and recognize what's happening. This shift in topic is not just a random occurrence. It's often a deliberate attempt to sidestep accountability. Much like a sailor who notices the wind changing direction, you must adjust your sails to stay on course. Ask yourself, why has the conversation changed? What is being avoided? This self-awareness is crucial in preventing yourself from being misled. Once you've recognized the shift, gently steer the conversation back to the original issue. You might say, "That's an interesting point, but let's not lose sight of what we were discussing." This is akin to a captain steering their ship back on course after being momentarily thrown off by a sudden gust of wind. By calmly and firmly bringing the conversation back, you maintain focus and refuse to be distracted. If the topic continues to shift, it's important to address the intention behind it. You could ask, why are we moving away from the main issue? This is like shining a light in a dark room, exposing what the other person might be trying to hide. Directly questioning the shift can often disarm the manipulator and bring the conversation back to a place of honesty and transparency. Lastly, set clear boundaries. If you find that the conversation is persistently being derailed, it might be necessary to end it. Knowing when to walk away from a discussion that is no longer productive is essential, much like knowing when to leave a game that is no longer being played fairly. By doing so, you assert your right to meaningful and respectful communication. Topic shifting is a deceptive tactic, but by recognizing it, redirecting the conversation, questioning intentions, and setting boundaries, you can protect yourself from its manipulative effects. As Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. By staying focused and grounded, you ensure that your conversations remain honest and purposeful, guiding them back to the truth no matter how many detours they may take. As we come to the end of this exploration into the 10 methods to identify and counter manipulation, it's clear that the world is full of those who would sway our thoughts, emotions, and decisions for their own gain. From the subtle twists of emotional manipulation to the evasive maneuvers of topic shifting, each tactic lays bare the strategies manipulators use, undermine our autonomy and integrity. But knowing these tactics isn't just about defense, it's about empowerment. Awareness is your strongest armor. By understanding how manipulation works, you equip yourself with the tools to protect your mind and maintain your sense of self. It's like having a compass in a dense forest, allowing you to navigate the most confusing paths with clarity and confidence. This knowledge is not merely defensive, it's proactive. It allows you to live intentionally, to make choices that are truly yours, untainted by the subtle influences of others. Manipulation can infiltrate every area of life, personal relationships, professional environments, and even the broader public sphere. But with the wisdom you've gained today, you can stand your ground, remain unshaken by the tactics seek to control you. You become the master of your own thoughts, the guardian of your own emotion. This strength doesn't just protect you. It frees you to engage with the world on your own terms, purpose, and integrity. If this video has resonated with you, I encourage you to share it. By doing so, you're helping to spread awareness, build a community that values autonomy and truth. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you stay updated on more content that empowers and enlightens. And if you found value in what we discussed, take a look at some of the other videos on the channel. Each one is designed to give you something meaningful to carry forward in your journey. I'm eager to hear from you now. Which of these 10 strategies to recognize manipulation struck a chord with you? Have you encountered any of these tactics in your life? What have you done to counter them? Your insights and experiences are invaluable, not just to me, but to everyone here seeking to navigate a world full of hidden influences. Let's learn from each other, support one another, and build a community grounded in resilience and understanding. I look forward to reading your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, stay strong, stay aware. Remember, your mind is your fortress. Guard it well.